beautiful special moments in our spiritual life. Christian life in 16 of Lenten. So, and I know you might have any more pieces. If you have, when you don't see it and you hear the voice, what you have to do is you have to stay back and do all that. Okay, so my dear brothers and sisters, I would like to introduce Father Mathew to you once again. I did that on Sunday and also the Mass last weekend. But I would like to hear a little more Father Mathew today. Father Mathew is a Jesuit priest who was ordained in the year 1973. His ordination is going to ordination, a person of deep spirituality and with immense experience in spiritual guidance and guidance in general of his Christian life. He belongs to the Jesuit community in that place, and he is a very educated person. Because the wise know that he has done advanced graduation in sociology, anthropology, spirituality, and theology. He's learned all these things from one person. Congratulations for doing all these.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very educated person, therefore, with a technical knowledge of all that he's doing about and really speaking to us. And his main theme was his literature, that is grounded and also the place he preaches all over the world was on unity. He has preached for this matter in all states of the United States. And also I heard he told me he preached in more than 60 other countries, from Australia to say any other countries, Alaska, they did from Alaska to Australia. And he has gone to India also. And he preached for people in the churches in India too, and many other nations in Africa. So over 60 countries he has preached. That is the truth and the key. So we have in the person of Mathew, another person, a better person, and also a deeply spiritual person. And I'm sure we will use words of wisdom to assist each one of us in our parish for a good, wonderful renewal of our spiritual life, which will lead to a renewal of our personal life, with a person who is filled emotionally and spiritually elevated. And I would like to believe and wish all the best of Mathew. Now, coming to the mundane matters, after his talk, he gave a paper somewhere between the later also, we will make a special collection today. Although we would like to read and when we will do that, also on behalf of also we will do that. Please don't prepare the same start and come announce when we will do that. So other than that, we wish you and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you. They tell me if I'm here. First of all, can you hear me? No. What is going on? Or not going on is the question. Aha. Now can you hear me? No? I don't know what else. I'll get over here. That's all of a sudden it came on. Thank you, Lord. So I should have prayed first before I checked out everything else. Anyway, I'm just glad. They tell me if I stand right here, then I got all of you. So I'll stand here. Let me first start with this story. I come from Minnesota, as you probably can tell by my accent. And in Minnesota, there's we talk about the Swedes, and we make fun of the Scandinavian people. So there's all kinds of jokes about them. So I'm going to tell you one about Nina. Nina was walking in downtown Minneapolis, and she was walking along, and all of a sudden she hears a voice, "Stop!" So she stops. Good thing she stopped, because it was a construction site, and the whole pile of bricks just came right down in front of her where the wires snapped. So she goes around those, and then she gets out to where she's going to the corner. And she hears, "Stop!" So she stops again. And good thing she did, because if she had stepped out there, there was a guy that was making a turn, and he was another car, he wouldn't have seen her. Whew. So she gets back across the street, and she said, "Who are you?" It's saying stop all the time. And the voice says, "I'm your guardian angel. I'm here to keep anything harmful from happening to you." She said, "Oh yeah? Where were you when I married Oli?" So that's what I want to talk about tonight. How we have this God of love. You look at your sheet, fall in love. It just changes everything. If you get a God of love, I'm just going to start with reading that little part, because that's what we're going to do tonight. God's just so big. You can't put God in a box. It's infinite love. And only when you get into love do you discover how big it is. Nothing is more practical than finding God, than falling in love in a quite absolute final way. What you are in love with, what seizes your imagination, will affect everything. It'll decide what will get you out of bed in the morning, what you do with your evenings, how you spend your weekends, what you read, whom you know, what breaks your heart, and what amazes you with joy and gratitude. Fall in love, stay in love, and it will decide everything. So that's what our goal is tonight, to find this big God of love. And it does. It just decides everything. It decided what I'm to wear tonight. I thought I've got the green clerical shirt with me. I'll put that on because it's St. Patrick. And I'll connect. Patrick was a healer, and we're going to be talking about healing tonight. In fact, how much of it is legend, I don't know. But he's supposed to call back from the dead 27 people. 27 of them, I don't have one yet, but 27. And the neat thing about Patrick was he could listen to God. At 16, he was captured, brought over to Ireland as a slave, made a shepherd. And he was just watching sheep for 6 years. And it gave him a lot of time to pray and to listen to God. And he started this whole way of being able to hear God. And one day when he was praying, he got this vision of how there was a boat, and he was to take it and go to England and then go to France and then come back, ordained to bring the faith to the Irish people. Now that takes a lot of belief that there's a God directing you. But that's what he did. He just left the sheep, he started walking, and there was the boat, and it was going to England, and he convinced them that he should go on that. And then from England, he went to France, and he became a priest. And 10 years later, he came back and went throughout Ireland, just sharing this God of love that guides you step by step. I'm also wearing green for another reason. This is what I wear when I do my hospital work. And why? I started out in black. And when you're a chaplain and you go into a person who's in emergency care and you come in black, first thing they think about is you're there to bury them. And especially the older ones. We grew up with you didn't want to see a priest if you were sick, because that meant you had one foot in the grave and the other one was going there real fast. We've changed everything since then. It's the anointing of the sick. There's another whole rite for when people are it's called the last rite, when people are dying. But most people don't have that distinction made. They just don't want to see a priest in black because they are afraid that's the trip to the cemetery. It comes right after that. So I thought, how can I overcome that fear that they have? And then I realized the ones they want to see are the nurses. And all the nurses are dressed in green. All I have to do is put on a green, and they're going to think I'm there to pray for healing. And it works great. They welcome me, and then I can tell them I'm here to pray for your healing. And I do the prayers. And if the person is dying, we add the ones to have a happy death. So this is the way that I go in and out of hospitals. And I saw the difference it makes. The nice thing about hospitals is they have these monitors that are the patient's all hooked up, and you can see what's going on in the patient. When I was in black, blood pressure went way up, heartbeats went way up, they're ready to keel over. When I come like this, their breathing goes down, they relax, everything. That whole image determines whether we're going to experience healing or whether we're going to experience fear. And that's one of the places I started to get into how important the image of God is. It's the God that coming to bury you or to heal you. It makes a huge difference on how you react and what you can take in. So, let me just get into one more thing off of this. Why I'm glad I'm here. You people are my image of the future church. On Sunday, I noticed all the different ethnic groups that are all under this one roof. There's Nigerians, people from India, Philippines, and I could go on and on and on. And the reason you're here is because there's something bigger than all the gifts that come from your cultures that you come from. The big thing you want is this God. And what God wants is to use the gifts of every single person in their uniqueness. He wants those who really believe in healing. When I was in Nigeria, they really believed in healing. And the other thing they believe in are long masses. They have 3-hour masses because they do so much dancing in between. He wants to use all those gifts. When I go to the Philippines, the love, the way they care for each other. I was there during the revolution when everybody was getting shot. And there are these grandmothers. There were 2 big armies. That's the street. And Cardinal Sin, what a wonderful name for a cardinal. Cardinal Sin. He got on the radio and he said, all the grandmothers and mothers bring flowers and food and stand between these 2 armies. That are, they were going to shoot each other, and that was going to be the end of the revolution for freedom. They went out there in the streets, and I talked to those that did. They're afraid they're going to get shot. There's a helicopter overboard that he sent up to shoot everybody. The guy in the helicopter sees his grandmother down there and goes back without shooting anybody. They really have a sense of how God is there and how God brings that freedom and that love. When they pray, they really pray. Anyway, I can go through each of your cultures. I spend a lot of time in Mexico and hablo español con todas las personas allí. Every single person comes with gifts. And God's dream is this. Can we affirm the gift of each person and use it? And let them bring out the gifts of us. And that's what I want to do tonight. The more we have a God of love, the more that happens automatically. We love the person. They grow in their gifts. They love us. We grow in our gifts. It just goes back and forth and back and forth. Now, the early Christians had to do this. God sent them out into all these other little places where they were going to be martyrs. Romans were martyring them. Jewish people were, Pharisees. Every place they went, they were in danger of dying. So what did they do? They formed communities where they could love each other. They didn't have anything. What they do is they put a table in the community, and then they'd share everything. So it says nobody is in need, because whatever was extra, they put on the table for those who didn't have any food, those who were being hunted down, clothes, food, whatever. And then anybody who was in need just took it. And that's why Christianity spread so fast. It was a denomination of love. See how they love one another. That's what attracted people all around the world. They'd go wherever and care for whoever was in need. And then those people would come and they'd bring other people. No other religion has spread as fast as Christianity. And it's because they had this God of love. And they reached out with that love to the persons that were in need. Now, the other thing they had a sense of a big God of love. Not just a God that was only in people, a God that was in all of creation. And if you go back, the first Bible is creation. Before Jesus came and we had anything else, we had creation. And the early Christians prayed not like this. You know how they prayed? They prayed with arms crossed for the first 1,000 years. And why did they pray this way? Because they had this big God. When you're praying like this, you cross your arms over your heart and you can feel what it feels like. When you're praying like this, it feels like a hug that you're getting into your heart. You feel that? So that's the first thing. They found a God of love. Not a God who is up there somewhere and you're trying to find him, No, a God that's right inside in your own heart. And you're getting that big hug from him. Now, the hug comes, it's big. The hug comes from everything outside you. So as you breathe in, you're breathing in all the ways that God loves you through all of creation. You're breathing in that love. You close your eyes. We can do it right now. You breathe in the sun that shines on that warmth that shines on the just and the unjust. It just loves. Breathe that in. Fill yourself with that. And that God of love that sends the rain on the good and the bad, all those clouds that are up there, they're all God, sent by God to give love and to nourish the earth. Breathe in how God cares for the earth. And let that rain shine on the good and the bad. And then the wind. The wind was the Holy Spirit. You feel the wind blowing around you? Let it blow right inside you with all the Spirit's love. Just that wind came into the upper room. Breathe that in. And then the other one they reached for were the stars. And it's like the Magi. The Magi knew which way to go. They just followed that star. And the stars were like a reminder of how God is right over them all the time, directing them. Breathe that in. How God's always guiding us. We do that with the North Star, don't we? We can find the directions if we find that one up. That's the way the early people did it too. They looked at the sky and breathed in how God is guiding them step by step by step. And just breathe that in. All of creation is there just to love us. You feel that big God? All right. Now, the other nice thing about praying this way is it also is how God is hugging you. Breathe in how God just loves you. Couldn't love you more if you're perfect, less if you're not. We love because God has first loved us. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't even take a breath unless first we had just breathed in this loving God. It's always loving us. Feel how it lives in our heart and is always there, guiding us step by step, giving us every breath, every heartbeat. Feel your heart beating. Every heartbeat is a gift from God. Every breath is a gift from God. And from the deepest part inside you, we can say what helps us receive that gift. Thank you. Amen. Wow. Can you feel a difference in you after taking in this God of love from outside and inside? That's the way they always started their prayers. They always prayed this way for the first 1,000 years. Not like this, trying to find God someplace else. All right. So the first thing is to get a God that's big. It's in all of creation, just like they had. And this God who's right within you. Now, I'm going to tell you one story of people that helped me with that. I worked for 12 years with the Native Americans out in South Dakota. They're called the Sioux. Lakota is really their real name. And they were Christian. And they also had this big God that's in all of nature. And they had also lots of problems. It was a culture with 98% alcoholism. 98%. Very few people that weren't without it. 10 times the suicide average. So it was just hard to do anything. And whenever we'd have a meeting or anything, what we had to do was we had to find God within. Because outside, no, it's just chaos and violence. So they had a little prayer that they would do, the light prayer. And I'm going to show you the gestures and then we're going to do it. And the first thing is you reach up and you put the sun in your hands. And you let it stand for Jesus, the light of the world. And you feel all that warmth and how God in the sun just gives life to everybody. That sun that shines on the just and the unjust. And then you just slowly draw it down across yourself. And every place your hands go, the light of Christ goes. So you have Christ's mind, eyes, speech, Christ's heart. You're filled with the light of Christ all the way down to your toes. And if you're tall like me, this prayer takes a long time to get way down there. All the way down to your toes. So the first thing is we just fill ourselves with the light of Christ. The next one is we've got to do something with all the hurt and pain inside us. So you put your hand on your heart, and you feel, what's in your heart that's difficult? What are you not so grateful for? Out there's the alcoholism and the violence and whatever it was. Whatever is the one that's the top one, they would just feel that in their heart, and then they take that problem out of their heart and put it in God's hands to handle. And the next thing, if you're going to go out and back into all of this that's happening, is to go with God's protection. So they would wrap strips of God's light around them. Wherever your hands go, there's God's light protecting you as you go forward. And don't miss any places, because that's where the darkness will sneak through. All the way down to your toes. And if you're tall like me, this one takes a long time before you get way down there. All the way down. Okay? And now we're ready. We've got the light of Christ inside us. We've got the problems in God's hands. We've got the protection. We can go forth. And the next one now is, now that you have all that, you're not just a person walking around with it. You're the light of Christ for everybody else. You can go out and share all of this, and it grows as you share it. So the next one is, we're going to give the light of Christ away, and we do it to 7 different directions. So I'm going to show you the directions, and then we'll do the whole prayer together. So it's the 4 cardinal directions. They have 7. Above, beneath, are the other 2, and within. So you let your cup be filled with all that light, and then the way you give God's light away is with a smile. You get a target, and then you go without the sound. It's all silent. I just get carried away when I do this thing. All right. So we do that for the 4 cardinal directions. And then here's the next one. Above, bless all the way out to the stars. We're giving God's love. There's no limits to it, beyond the stars. And then the next one is upon the earth, and all of creation upon the earth. And the last one, we gather all that love and we put it into our own hearts. And you smile. Each time you get that love, you smile. Okay? Stand up. We'll do it together. Get that inside us. If it's hard to stand, you can sit down too. So the first one, first is just get in touch with this God of love. Remember a time you were loved or loving. I remember holding a baby, my nephew John. What's your memory of love? Dogs are great at this. Okay, now that you have your memory of love, first one, reach up, take the sun in your hands. Let it stand for Jesus, the light of the world. It just radiates love and light. And then you bathe yourself in it. You slowly take it down across yourself, layer by layer, letting your glow with the risen Christ, this God of love. And you smile as you feel that love all the way down, layer by layer. Your heart is filled with love. Legs are filled with love, all the way down to your toes. All filled with the light of Christ. Okay? Then you search. What feels different than all that love? What are you not so grateful for? Maybe there's a difficult person, difficult situation. What is it that keeps you from just feeling loved? Pick the biggest one. And then take that out of your heart and put it in God's hands to handle. Okay? Now we wrap ourselves, putting all around us protective ribbons of God's light. You're going to end up looking like the mummy with all this light around you, strips of love. Wherever your hands go, there God's light is around you, protecting you. Down to your toes. Okay. I know the tall people, they're still working on this. All right, you got it? Now, next one. Now that we're filled with light, we're protected, we can go out and give that light. And we do it to 7 different directions. So you put a cup in front of your heart, and you let all that love and light flow into the cup, and when it's filled, you just pour it out in that direction with a big smile. We're going to do 7 directions. You ready? You got a target? All right, keep going around. All right, you got the 4 different directions. Now we're going to go above and beneath. Here we go, above. On the whole universe, we smile and let all that God's love just touch the stars. And then we do it to the earth. And the last one is within. Grab that big love and put it right into your own heart. And feel that big smile as God just fills you with life. Okay, good. And if it feels good, you can give a hug to the person next time. That's what I'm going to do. Enough of this just demonstrating. Oh, Lord bless you. Okay, you can sit down. So we're trying to close in on experiencing rather than just reading about God is love. Finding it in all of creation, finding it in the deepest parts of ourselves. Now, once it's inside you, then the challenge is to get it into the actions in your life, not just into the ways we prayed. And I think the reason that we use light, not just because it just gives life everywhere, not just because it's in the scriptures with the sun that shines on the just and the unjust. For me, one of the easiest ways to experience God's love is to sit out in the sun and just feel how that sun is shining on everyone, even though people that I'm not too happy about. I think that's one reason we use light. But the other one is what we're discovering right now. People who have these near-death experiences get to the other side, they meet God, and God is so full of, they come back and they can hardly speak and describe God. But the ones who experience the deepest love experience God as light. And you can't put light into words. How do you describe that love that is just, I'm even having a hard time getting what it is, And that's what happens. You know a person that's really met God because they come back and they talk about God being light and they can't say anything more. It's just too big. Now, how do you get that into where we are right now? And I think the key is we've got a couple people that have really helped us with that. One is Mother Teresa. Remember Mother Teresa? She was just a lover. She saw Jesus' face in everybody. Jesus was everywhere. She never had a Hindu or a Muslim do the Jesus prayer and commit their life to Jesus and all these other things that evangelicals think you have to do. She knew Jesus was right there, right the way that person was. She just loved him. And she could see the face of Jesus in anyone. The alcoholic, the person who was violent, you name it. Mother Teresa was just, she is a saint. She did get, and she's on that whole thing of, I think we've had her in our time because that's what we needed to do. We need to find it not just in all these other ways, we need to find it in each person. And especially the people who believe differently than we do. And she had a saying, do great things, do small things with great love. When there were all these teachers from England that came to her and said, we're very influential. We're teaching universities. We can, shape the future. What should we be doing? She said, go home and wash the dishes with great love. That's what I'm supposed to do? Yeah. The smallest actions. Just make them loving actions. You'll always be doing what God is doing to give love. And the other one we had was Therese, the little flower. She knew the same truth. She says if you just pick a flower with love, you can save a soul. And it wasn't even a flower. She went on to pins. If you just pick up a pin with love, you can save a soul. Those two had the sense you don't have to just do these great big actions. You've got this God within you. And the smallest action, when it's with God's love, it's powerful. So how do we do that? How do we get from this big God that's everywhere, and his love is being poured out upon all creation, from the farthest stars to the earth and all the plants and animals? How do we get to where it's in our own life and where it makes a difference in our own life? And I think the secret is to know when you're doing something with love and when you're doing it just to finish it and to get on to something else. And how do you know? You know because when you're really into love, you're into gratitude. You're not just wanting to go on to the next thing. There's so much love and life coming in. You're grateful right there. Wherever, like me right now, I'm just grateful as I look out at you people. And the more I take in that gratitude, the more I get connected to how that love, how God feels toward you and toward me. So the secret in life is just seeing, where can you be grateful? And whenever you're grateful, you're into that place where there is love. I remember one time, it was part of the folklore movement, and you take a scripture and you try to live it for a year. So the one I took was 1 Thessalonians 5:16. Rejoice always, never cease praying, give constant thanks. That's God's will for you. So, rejoice always. I tried that for a while, and then I realized, well, I wasn't doing any praying, never cease praying. And then I tried that for a while, and then I realized I wasn't always rejoicing. I thought, oh my gosh, this one's too big. I think I'll just take the easier part. Rejoice always, never cease praying, give constant thanks. Just say thank you. Whenever I'm aware of some time, say thank you for whatever is going on in that present moment. You know, when I started doing that, everything else happened. When I said thank you, I automatically am rejoicing. Thanks just brings life inside you. Never cease praying. Whenever I have a grateful heart, that's what prayer is. Just taking in God's love. Give constant thanks. That's God's will for you. God's will is always to give and receive more love and more life. So it's pretty simple. Living a life of gratitude does everything. If we can just say thank you in the present moment for the present situation, then we hook up to how God's right there, even if it's a difficult moment. We thank God for God being with us. Now, the neat thing about this, science is discovering the same thing. There was a big study done in 1939, 720 people, Harvard. They did it with their graduates. They had them fill out questionnaires. John Kennedy was part of that class. The year he became president. They had them figure out all these questionnaires. And then what they're trying to do is they're going to guess. Every year they send out more questionnaires to get more data. And when the person is 75 years old, they're going to try to guess, just on the basis of the data that they have, who's going to be really happy and healthy and who's not. So it's pretty easy. All they did was they looked to see, okay, alcoholic. This guy's got all kinds of, he's an overeater. He's into smoking. He doesn't get any exercise. Sad and sick at 75. So they made their predictions. And they were wrong. 90% of the time. Because what really shaped people and makes them either happy and healthy or sad and sick aren't whether you smoked or not, whether you got addicted to alcohol, whether you were a couch potato and didn't exercise, whether you had a divorce, all those things that we think are going to make the difference in our life. Two factors they found that made the most difference. Those who are happy and healthy over here at 75, gratitude and forgiveness. Those who are sad and sick, they could be doing everything else right, eating right, everything else, sad and sick. It's what do we do with the experience that comes along? Do we forgive those who hurt us rather than just swallow the pain and carry it? All that does is just drain life out of us. And that's why in the second night we're going to talk about how do you do that? So it doesn't just drain life out of you, the difficult person. And if you can forgive, the hurt, the pain doesn't stay inside you. It becomes a place where you're a wounded healer, where you have more life and more love. And the gratitude one, welcoming the present moment. The more you do that, the more every present moment gives you life. So that's how you live this stuff out. If you want a God of love, just keep being grateful for that present moment. And you're letting that God of love give you life every single present moment. The more you can say thank you, the more you're receiving this God right there, just the way God is. Now, this isn't rocket science. We know that just from the day of the week. You know what day of the week has the most heart attacks? What would you think? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. How many for Mondays? Right. And you know when it is? Right when you get up in the morning. And you say, oh, I got this whole week of having to go to work. When you say, I have to, sad and sick. Those are the ones where you can't say I'm grateful. All right, the next one. What's the day of the week that has the least number of heart attacks? What do you think? Friday. Hey, that's right. And especially after work, you say, I got this whole weekend ahead of me, and your heart just keeps going. So it's our daily experience too, even if we didn't know the Harvard study. It's just the way we're made. We thrive on gratitude. It gives us life. Now, I want to show you one person. What's it like so that when this is just instinctive, where you just have it inside yourself? You don't have to be a big rocket scientist or anything. The simplest people can do this. So I'm going to have a little video right now. When love, we got that? When love becomes an instinct? Where's my video person? Yeah, you're all set? Catch it from this person. What? It isn't coming?
Which one is it?
When love becomes an instinct. Yeah. Not doing it?
I have deep peace and only a shadow.
Those are the only two you got on there? We had more than that before. All right,
The
we
Saint-
go with what gives.
And then the St. Patrick's one.
Yeah, okay. Somehow, love became a fugitive, not just an instinct. So, and what do when things don't work out right? You say, Lord, you love me anyway. See, you can't lose on this stuff. Even when you're losing, you're taking in life. All right, so we do without love becoming an instinct. Let me give you this one study. They went into a nursing home and divided people in half. Robert Emmons did this one. So people over here, you just go to bed the way you're going to bed. People over here, before you fall asleep, list 5 things you're grateful for. They did that for 3 weeks. So you're sleeping on gratitude. You're just trying to sleep over here. They did psychological tests before and after. This is Robert Emmons of UCLA. Those people over here, they still needed all their medications for sleep, for depression, anxiety, everything. Over here, you people, you dropped most of your medications. You no longer needed them. Or if you needed them, you cut way back. And that's what started the whole nursing home, the whole revolution about how do we begin to heal people besides just on drugs? Just writing down 5 things you're grateful for. It centers you in a whole other world than all the ones that was collapsing around you the day before. And they've done this with nursing homes after nursing home. So that was one of the first things that kind of made people catch on, the power of gratitude. If you sleep on it, it changes the way you sleep and the way you are afterwards. People over here, you made more friends. People over there, you don't want to talk to them very long, you know. They're grouchy. We'll leave them over there, you know. You were always smiling over here. And you started doing things of caring for yourself, exercise, things like that. All right. So that was one of the earliest ones where they just started looking at gratitude. It isn't just a Christian thing. It isn't just a God thing. This is what really changes people psychologically too. And then the other one that came along was 9/11 in New York, where you had towers go down. And in New York, people couldn't sleep at night because there's always, well, we think right now it's going to be bridges. That's the next thing that they're going to attack. They thought there were these little groups going around and just ready to target another place. I remember getting on a plane, and they really had to search you and everything, and you wondered, you know, am I going to? We lived in a whole way of fear. And anyway, in New York, 6 months into it, people weren't sleeping. They were like this, because watch out for bridges. Then no, they're going to send a plane into the nuclear power plant. Oh, yeah, that would have fried New York, you know? So there's always something like that on the horizon. Bridges are everywhere. Well, you go across the bridge as fast as you can, you know? No. Finally, they decided, look, we can't just keep living this way. Let's look at the people who are doing well. Who are they? And they found one man who'd been right under the tower when it was falling, and he ran as fast as he could. He ran and he crashed right into a building because there was all this dust in the air and you couldn't see where you were going. So he crashed like that. And he came to the therapist and he said, I can't sleep at night. I have this nightmare where I'm running for my life and I crash into a building. The therapist said, well, yeah, I can understand that, but you're not crashed into a building now. How did you ever get to safety? And he said, well, I knew it was a building, so all I had to do was just keep going along it, and seeing where it went. And, I got to the corner. I could breathe again. I could go home. Said, start from the corner tonight. Did. No more nightmare. And they did that with person after person. Sleep on a positive memory. It gets into the whole rest of you. It gives you life. Now they're doing that with vets. We've had all these veterans that have come back from our wars. Hospitals full of them. So they started looking at, what is helpful for these vets that have been through so much. They came back from the wars. They couldn't stay married. They couldn't have a job. They just had to hospitalize vet after vet after vet. So they started doing research. Who are the ones that make it and who are the ones that don't? And what they found, it's really important what they sleep on. They'd have them during the day, go through all these exercises, but the ones that made the most difference to them were whatever they did at night and slept on. And one of the exercises that they found that really helped vets was to write down, what am I grateful for? And they simplified it. It's not, I'm grateful for the food I ate, I'm grateful for the beer I had, no. When were you loved or loving? And they had them write it out. So it wasn't just something vague. And maybe it was when they held their first baby and they just wanted to give their life to that child, whatever way that child needed it. Write it out. That started to get at the PTSD. Love was there. And then what they started to do was have them rehearse it, relive it. So it isn't just on the paper. Relive it. Get it inside you. And when they found out, when they looked at who were the ones that were doing the best, it was the ones who relived it right before they went to sleep. They relived it during the day, but the key was right before you sleep. Go back, feel what it feels like, and fall asleep on that. Wow. That sent the PTSD down by 50%, just doing that. And then they work with tweaking that. Who are the ones that seemed to do that best? And they were the people who didn't just fall asleep on it, but when they woke up, they tried to get right back into it. You know what that does? It programs you all during the night to hang on to that memory. Because you're saying, what's the memory what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? I'm going to have to remember that because I'm going to step into it in the morning. Your whole unconscious hangs on to it all night long, marinates in it, that gratitude. And when they could do that, they found that if the vets did that for 1 month, 60 to 80% of the PTSD was either gone or greatly diminished. No other medicine had been able to do that. Now they probably have stuff like that. But anyway, that's what they found. It's what you sleep on at night that really makes a difference. Do you sleep on whatever it was you're not so grateful for, you get a nightmare. You speak on whatever you're grateful for, you get a healing time all during the night. Hey, here's the good news. The longer you sleep, the longer you get healed. How's that? Yeah. So you can just wake up in the morning and you say, I think I just need another hour of healing. Boing, go right back and get your next hour of healing. You can't lose on that one. So that's what we're going to do tonight. And before we do that, we're going to just you wanted to take up a collection. I think somebody said something about that. Where is that? Are you ready to do that? Okay. We'll do that part for 2 minutes, and then we're going to get right on into the prayer part. And if you got a question while we're doing the collection thing, raise your hand and we'll work with the question. Anybody got a question? I've been talking here. Okay, go ahead and do the collection, and I'll see if there's a question on anybody has. Anybody have a question? What we're talking about or experience anything? All right, don't worry. We'll get the collection and then we'll get right back to this other part.